All praises, honor, and glory go to the Most High God, Yahweh, and we do so by the way of His Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ. We are back at it again, the dynamic duo,
The Teen and the Titan.
holding it down for the Lord with an iron sword. All right, we're about to get into this one. Bear with us. It is water the seed. All right, it's important to teach your kids, teach your children. Water the seed. They are your seed. Water your seed, right? So go ahead, bring it out.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 through 16. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
Right. So not only is it good to let your light shine in front of men of the world, but more importantly, your children. You have to be that light in the house for your children so they can later on become that city that's set upon a high hill. Okay? So it starts with the fathers and the mothers. We are the first teachers, mainly you mothers. Go ahead.
Titus chapter 2, verse 1 through 8. But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine. Let the aged men, fathers, be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience.
Right. So we're talking the aged men. So fathers, right? We shouldn't be having, in our community, it should be taboo to have fathers who are teenagers, right? And mothers who are teenagers. That should be a taboo thing. So we're talking to the aged men, the fathers, to be sober, right? Grave, respectable, or honorable, and temperate, of a sound mind, right? You got to be the rock for the family. Sound in faith, charity, and in patience. We understand what that is. Go ahead. Verse 3.
The aged men, the mothers, likewise.
So, Salakia, so the aged mothers, like we were saying, the older women who are ready for children. Go ahead.
Likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given too much wine, teachers of good things.
Right. You have to be teachers of good things because the woman, the mother, is the first teacher to the children. Okay? So it's important that they're honest. Okay? Holiness. In holiness, Salakia. Not false accusers. A lot of women today, they lie a lot, especially on other men when they don't get their way. You can't be that way, right? And not given to much wine. A drunken woman is the most annoying thing in the world, believe me. Please, women, control your liquor, and if anything, drink at home with your husband if that's the case. Don't drink when you're out with your friends. Keep that to a very, very minimum. Verse 5.
That's also very unattractive too.
It is very unattractive. Go ahead, verse 5.
To be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed.
Right. So keepers at home. You want to be a homebody. The women should be homebodies, right? They shouldn't be running around here and there, to and fro, everywhere they go, you know? It's like it's a simple thing, but the world teaches the women to be like men today. So that's why everything is in confusion.
It's backwards.
It's backwards, right? So good and obedient, right? To their husbands, right? Being obedient doesn't mean that you're a dog. It just means that you're willing to comply or follow. Follow your husband, comply with your husband. Obedient doesn't mean obedient like a dog. We're not saying that. We don't want you to jump when we say jump and sit when we say sit. That's not what it's talking about. But just be willing to comply and follow in the path that your husband is pushing for the family. So we got a precept, Numbers 27 and 15.
And Moses spake,
So I can call it out.
Numbers chapter 27, verse 15 through 16. And Moses spake unto the Lord, saying, Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation.
Right. So the man is the leader, right? The man is to be set over the congregation. This is where you get that. This is why Paul was talking about. I suffer not a woman to teach, right? It's not saying that you don't teach the children, because we just clearly read that the women are the teachers, right? But it's talking about to the children and the younger women, right? Okay, go ahead. Where we at?
Young men, in verse 6, young men likewise exhort to be sober-minded, in all things shewing thyself a pattern of good works.
Salakia, my bad. Young men and women be good examples to look up to, right? And that's where you got into the young men. Likewise, exhort to be sober minded. You right. You don't want to be out there gone off of weed and Percocets, Molly Percocets, right?
The perky yerks.
Yeah, that's you're a dope fiend. DOP with a capital E. All right, go ahead.
In all things shewing thyself a pattern of good works, in doctrine shewing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity, sound speech that cannot be condemned.
Right, hold on. So you don't want to be out there. You don't want to be out there talking crazy to older gentlemen. You want to have sound speech, right? Now, if you're disrespected, then I totally understand to a degree, right? It depends what the age gap is for sure, and it depends who this person is to you. But you definitely want to have sound speech that cannot be condemned, right? You don't want people out there calling you names, and you don't want to be calling other people names, right? You want to keep it respectful as possible at all times. You give respect, and you should be shown respect, right? But
That he is of the contrary part may be ashamed, having no evil thing to say of you.
right, so as young men, young men and women, you don't want anybody to have anything evil to say about you. You want to say that's a good young man. Well, she's a good young lady. You know, these are the things you want people to say about you. But that comes with being taught from your mother and your father, right? It all comes with that, right? And you also have to show yourself patterns of good works in doctrine, showing uncorruptness, right? That's the scriptures, that's the commandments, that's the faith. So it says, what do older generations say about the younger today? What do they say? They say they're lost, right? Every generation says, every generation after says the same about the next to come. So every generation before that. So if you go back to the generation of the baby boomers, and then the ones who came before that, they always said, oh, they're lost. They're not like they used to be. They're not like when I was coming up, right? So the solution is that the preceding has to teach the succeeding. So the one that came before has to teach the one to come. That's the job of the older generation, is to continue on teaching these good works. And that's where you have to teach your children, right? Go ahead. Proverbs.
Proverbs chapter 22 and 6. Train
Or direct.
up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Right. So the cycle continues and the kingdom is manifested, right? 40 years of direction in the wilderness with Moses, and many children were trained up in the way they should go while they were walking in that wilderness, right? The older generation, the original generation that walked out of Egypt, didn't make it. That's why it's important to teach the younger so they can make it, right? It's really made for them. It's made for the kingdom is made for the children. Proverbs 22 and 15.
Proverbs chapter 22 and 15. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him.
Right. So every kid is gonna be playful and have foolish things to say and do foolish things, right? But you have to correct them to keep them far from that pool of foolishness, because they're gonna want to drink from that pool of foolishness. But you gotta beat them away from that. You're not talking physically, right? But you want to correct them. You want to get them away from that. It's kind of like you ever seen that Energizer bunny? It only goes one way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta kind of take that little bunny and you kind of move it this way, and then he's about to hit something. You gotta grab him and move him that way. He's about to hit something.
Or like a what's it called? There's like, there's teeth.
Yeah,
You round it
with
up
the
and
teeth
then
with the feet on them. Yeah,
yeah, then you like it chomps,
yeah.
and then it hits the wall. You gotta move it.
You gotta move it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta direct it. You gotta direct his path, right? Where you want it to go. Proverbs 19 and 18.
Proverbs chapter 19 and 18. Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying.
Right. So you want to correct your son while there is hope. So while he's still able to take on the correction, because once they get a certain age and you haven't already instilled in them um Proverbs 22 and 6, it's gonna be hard to correct them. Okay? It's gonna be hard to do. So you got to teach them while they're still malleable, right? While they're still a sponge, while they're still moldable, right? And let not thy soul spare for his crying. So he's gonna cry and say you might be being too hard, or you might complain about whatever, but he doesn't understand that he needs this. This is good for him. All right. Deuteronomy 11 and 13. So we're gonna get into the law of things, and we're gonna kind of correlate some things concerning crops and our children and how it's on the same parallel field. Go ahead, Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 13. And it shall come to pass, if ye shall hearken diligently
Mm-hmm.
unto my commandments which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God, and to serve him with all your heart
Right,
and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain.
right. So the first rain and the latter rain, right? We're not going to get too deep into what the rain may consist of, but just think of it as understanding. Okay, blessings. Go ahead.
And thy wine and thine oil.
Mm-hmm.
And I will send grass in thy fields for your cattle,
Mm-hmm.
that thou mayest eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and turn aside and serve other gods and worship them.
Right. So the enticement of the world, right? Be not deceived and turn aside to serve other gods, right? The enticement of the world, right? We're talking about YouTube, TikTok, Instagram fame is a big one, right? Hip hop culture or whatever you put before the Lord. Okay? You got to take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, right? Or else you're gonna cut that rain off. Okay? We need the rain of the Lord to survive, just like the crops of the ground and the cattle of the field need the rain. Okay? 17.
And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you,
Mm-hmm.
and he shut up the heaven, that there be no rain.
Right. So he shut up peace and life, right? And he shut up the rain, understanding. You depart from the Lord, he will depart from you, right? That's Hosea 5 and 15. We'll get it out.
Hosea chapter 5 and 15. I will go and return to my place, till they acknowledge their offense, and seek my face. In their affliction, they will seek me early.
Right. So when we're going through something, that's when we want to pray. Right? That's when we want to lift up our hands and say, Lord, please. Go ahead.
And that the land yield not her fruit,
Right.
unless
The seed you planted, right? Yield not her fruit. Go ahead.
ye perish quickly from off the good land which the Lord giveth you.
Right. And if the seed that you planted doesn't bear good fruit, and then the seed that they plant doesn't bear good fruit, quickly we will be taken off the land which the Lord giveth you. Right? You're gonna lose the land. You're gonna be kicked out because we're committing iniquity. We turned aside. Verse 16, we turned aside to serve other gods, right? This is talking about more than just the fields and crops. This is talking about us. We are the field. We are the crops. We're building. We should be yielding good fruit through our children. Okay, where we at?
18.
18. Go ahead.
Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart,
Mm,
and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand.
right. Ways of your works are in your hands. Okay. So read 18 again.
Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul,
Mm-hmm.
and bind them for a sign upon your hand.
Upon
Your hand,
Upon your hand. You're good. Go ahead.
that they may be as frontlets between your eyes.
Right. All that you see. Right. So the works of your hands should be all that you're doing. You should see these works manifesting. We should see them. Everybody should be able to see them. That's the light shining for the nations to see, right? 19, verse
And he
19.
shall teach them your children, speaking of them, when thou sittest in thine house.
Right. So teach them. The them is the commandments, right? Teach them your children. Okay, go ahead.
And when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up.
Right. So everywhere you go, right? When you're sitting in the house, you should be talking to your kids about the Lord, right? About the commandments. Hey, did you know this? We can't do this. Did you know what this feast day is about? Well, this is how you keep it, right? Or this is what the meaning of this is, right? You should be teaching your kids, right? When they walketh by the way, when thou layest down, and when thou risest up. So when you get up in the morning, talk to them about something. For me, I don't see my kids in the morning, so I can't talk to them in the morning. But if I have something to say about the commandments, I'm gonna definitely say it. Or about the Lord, I'm gonna definitely say it. Okay, go ahead. 20.
And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house, and upon thy gates.
Right. So it's saying have some commandments in a frame, I guess will be today's way. Around the doorpost of the house and upon the gate. So when they walk in, they're gonna see some commandments. I should actually do this. I haven't done this. This looks like a commandment to me. I haven't done that. 21.
Right there. That your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children, in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth.
Right. So that your days may be multiplied and the days of your children, right? That's what we're focusing on. Multiplying the children so they can see the land of the Lord, which was swore unto our fathers to give them. As the days of heaven upon the earth. That's why it says, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Okay, rulership, power. Okay, so I'm gonna precept that with Deuteronomy 28 and 32, speaking to see the correlation of our children and the land, and the fruit of the land and the crops and all these things. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, 32 through 33.
Mm-hmm.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eye shall look, and fill with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thy land.
In thy hand.
Thy hand.
Okay, there's no might in thine hand. So this is a horrible thing. This is Deuteronomy 28, right? These are the curses if we did not keep the commandments, right? So this correlates with the last scripture when verse 16 in Deuteronomy 11 was talking about take heed to yourself that your heart be not deceived, right? So this is the aftermath. 33, here's the correlation.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away.
So it goes from the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. It went from talking about our sons and daughters to directly talking about the land, right? Saying that there will be no might in our hand. So they're taking away from us, which we built up. They're taking away from us, which we labored on day and night, when we waked up and when we put them to sleep and we walked about, right? That's our children. The fruit of the land, us being the land, the fruit of that land is our children. And that's what the people took, and they ate up and oppressed always and crushed. Okay? We understand that? Let's get another one. Deuteronomy 28:53.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 53. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee.
Mm-hmm.
So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave.
Right. So there's multiple things going here. So thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body. You can correlate this to another time where this physically happened, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a certain piece where it says, the tender man which is delicate among you shall be evil towards his brother. So to eat up your own flesh and to eat up your own sons and daughters, that's talking about violence, right? We're talking violence against our own people, right? Violence against even sometimes our own sons and daughters physically, right? We're not talking about whoopings and things like that, but there are certain times where you hear in the news where single mothers are leaving their children in the house for 5-6 days while they go out to vacation in Miami, and they end up dying, right? Right? Devouring them, right? Killing their own children because the new dude that they're with doesn't want children, right? Even the father, sometimes they catch the mother cheating or something like that. They break up. He goes off and kidnaps the kid, kills the kid, and kills the mother. It's a whole bunch of wild stuff going on, right? That's the eating up the fruit of thine own body, devouring ourselves, right? Because of madness, right? Tender among you, very delicate, and the eye is evil towards a brother and toward the wife of his bosom, right? And toward the remnant of children which he shall leave. Okay, there's multiple things going on here, but the key fact is we have to be there for our kids. We have to teach our kids, and we have to navigate our kids through this wicked world that we live in Babylon the Great. So Deuteronomy 6:3-9.
Deuteronomy 6, 3-9. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily.
Right, so we want to increase mightily, right? We want to increase our children mightily. Go ahead.
As the Lord God of thy fathers hath promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey.
Right, so the promised land, Israel. Go ahead.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children.
Right. So if in order for you to increase mightily upon the land, like we were saying, you have to teach your children diligently, right? That's how you increase mightily in the land. Teach your children diligently so they can follow and love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. If you don't teach them that, they're not going to do that. If you don't teach them that, they're not going to understand what that means. Go ahead.
And shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up.
Right. We just read that. Right? We read that in another chapter. Go ahead.
And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy land.
Right.
And they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates.
Right. These are commandments, man. Thou shalt teach them diligently. Right? Thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house. These are commandments. Right? We read that where? We read that here, right? Yeah, we read that in Deuteronomy 11, saying the same thing as Deuteronomy 6. Okay? Precept. Okay, so you have to be present. Okay, for you to teach your children, you have to be there. And this goes back to Deuteronomy 28 and 54, where it was talking about towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Okay, so if you're breaking the commandments, you know you're not going to have the foresight and understanding that you have to be there for your children to teach them. Okay, right? And it actually goes back to that. Okay, so go ahead, read this.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 54.
Mm-hmm.
So that the man is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother,
Mm-hmm.
and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave.
Right. So it is very difficult to raise up a child when you're not there, right? Not being involved in the children's life snowballs the negative incentives the world gives. Okay? If you're not there, there's no one to correct the child. The woman can only teach but so far. You have to take over. You have to be that authority in the house, right? But hey, if you can raise your children, man, and teach them the ways of the Lord and teach them the commandments and all's peace in the house, man, do that. Regardless of what nation the mother is. Raise Israel up. Teach your children. Second Ezra 5.
Second Ezra chapter 5, 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the day shall come, that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number,
Mm-hmm.
and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith, but iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago.
Right. So the times of Noah, Genesis 6 and 5, right? You can go read that, where the Lord seen that the people were very wicked, right? Very wicked, right? And I believe I'm not sure the exact address, but it says that the wickedness would be like the times of Noah. Salakia. But as the days of Noah's were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving marriage until the day of Noah enter into the ark. Right? But not only that, before that, he had to enter in the ark because the Most High wanted to cleanse the land because they were barren of faith, right? Doing wickedly, right? Okay, 8.
Verse 8. There shall be confusion also in many places.
Right, there's lots of confusion now, right? Transformers and all type of wickedness, right? Go ahead.
And the fire shall be offset out again,
Mm-hmm.
and the wild beasts shall change their places.
Right, so wild beasts, people are referred to as beasts. So we're talking about them changing their places, right? Go ahead.
And menstruous women shall bring forth monsters.
Right. Monsters. Menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, right? Wicked children. People who are against God, right? Go ahead.
And the salt waters shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another.
Right. Everybody is going to have a hand in doing this. Some of us will have less a hand than others, right? But we're all in the midst of this right now. Confusion, all type of wickedness. Go ahead. At one point in time, we've all been a part of this, shall I say. Go ahead.
Then shall wit
Yep.
hide itself,
Right. So wit is like mental sharpness, right? Go ahead.
and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber.
Right. So that's why you can bring up simple scripture and people just will not get it, right? You can bring up corresponding scripture to corroborate with your understanding of a scripture, and people just will not get it, right? That's that mental sharpness will hide itself. Understanding withdraw itself from a secret chamber, right? Go ahead.
Verse 10, and shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and incontinency be multiplied upon earth.
Right, so lack of control. So out of all this, right? Out of all this, right? If you're not teaching, the land shall be barren of faith, right? If you're not there for the family, menstruous women will bring forth monsters, right? They're not going to have the mental sharpness or the self-control to push the kingdom forward, right? Because if you're not there, all these things are going to multiply in the negative. All these things, they're not going to have the mental sharpness. They're not going to understand when to respond and when to stay silent, right? They're not going to have the self-control, right? They're not going to understand, hey, I can't deal with that. I'm supposed to be dealing in righteousness. They're not going to understand that if you're not there teaching them that. You have to teach the children. You have to water the seed. Okay? Because if you don't do that, wickedness is going to multiply like in the times of Noah. You have to teach them. It's very important. The children are the most important thing. They always say children are the future. That's the truth. When I was a kid, I thought that was nonsense, but I was stupid back then. Go ahead, Sirach.
26 and 10. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straightly.
Right. So keep her in boundaries. So now we're talking about our daughters specifically now, right? Because everything else it was incorporating the daughters and the son, but now we're specifically talking about our daughters, right? So you want to keep your daughters in boundary, right? Go ahead.
Lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty.
Right. Unless she hurt herself, get into things she has no business being into because of too much liberty, right? So this part applied to your sons also. You don't want to give your sons too much freedom, because next thing you know, they in the shit. Call it out, 11.
11. Watch over impudent eye and marvel not if she trespass against thee.
Right. So watch over an impudent eye. So a child, right? So watch over a child that doesn't show respect, right? And don't marvel when she goes against you. Don't marvel. Don't be surprised because you know this is a impudent girl or boy. Don't be surprised when they go off and disobey you, right? But you gotta have that rod though, right? You gotta the rod of correction. You gotta correct them. Verse 12.
She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he hath found a fountain.
Right. So now we're back specifically on the daughters now, talking about how she will be open to anyone who's willing to give her a drink. With just to keep it PG, lack of any better words. Go ahead.
And drink of every water near her.
Mm-hmm.
By every hedge will she sit down, and open her quiver against every arrow.
Right. And that's exactly what it sounds like, right? And this is why you have to keep her in boundary and don't give her too much liberty, because she'll get out there real fast and be turned out and turned over. Okay? Yeah. Speaking of daughters, man, it's very important, man. So I was saying right here in this photo, imagine you are here and that's your daughter, right? Or imagine you're there, that's your hand and that's your son or your daughter, right? And you're planting that plant, right? And you can't just plant it, you got to water that. You got to take care of that. You got to teach that. You have to lead that, right? Just like on certain trees, if you ever seen these new suburban houses, they be having trees in front of their house and they put a stick up so that way the tree can grow straight up, right? It won't waver left or right. It has a stick on it that's wrapped around with the little band, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's directing that plant, that tree. The same thing you got to do with your sons and daughters. You got to direct them in a righteous path, direct them upward. Okay? Yeah, so definitely take care of your daughters, right? Because the thing about the daughters is what the daughter finds attractive, that's what the young men are going to do. right? If these young girls found men with degrees attractive, right? Who like goddamn Pokemon cards,
In rugby.
right? Every young dude will be at the spot with Pokemon cards, right?
In rugby.
I guess I don't know. Rugby, sure, yeah. If the girls were into dudes playing rugby, dudes would be playing rugby. Okay? So and the woman has a lot of power also. Okay? So you have to train her to understand what type of dude should she be looking for. She shouldn't be looking for the dude with his pants hanging off his ass, right? Who's always smelling like tree all the time. Okay? That's not the type of dude I want my daughter to marry. Believe me, I'm gonna have a problem if a nigga like that come into my house.
I'm gonna have a problem too.
He gonna get these words, right? We gonna see where his spirit at. All right, Sirach 42.
Sirach chapter 42 and 9. The father walketh for the daughter, when no man knoweth.
Salakia, the father waketh for the
Uh,
daughter. Go ahead, from the top.
the father waketh for the daughter, when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep.
Right. See, he's like waking up in the middle of the night, like, dude, man, my daughter, dude, like she's tripping right now, like whatever they're going through, right? He's waking up when no man know it, like he's in the middle of the night in his bed, waking up, thinking about, damn. Go ahead.
Lest she pass away the flower of her age.
Right, she does not get married at a proper age, like too old. Okay. So you got to remember, this scripture is written 2,000 years ago, right? So it's a different mindset back then. Okay, go ahead.
And being married, lest she should be hated.
Right, because if she gets married too old, she'll be hated more than likely because she can't have children because she's too old, right? And that's a problem today. Women are living their best life in their 20s when they should be getting married and having children, but they weren't taught that. They were taught by their single mothers who are wicked as hell to ride every merry-go-round and test out every rod, right? That's why the fathers are important. Because a father wouldn't tell you, no father in his right mind would tell his daughter to go ride every ride, right? Right? The father wants the daughter to get married as soon as possible and be taken care of and out of the house, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 10. In her virginity,
Right. In her proper age, go ahead.
lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house.
Right. So she don't want her to go ahead. We're gonna get it.
And having an husband, lest she should misbehave herself. And when she's married, lest she should bear.
Right. So this last scripture, or verse 10, kind of encompasses verse 9. So he worries that she might be seduced and become pregnant while living in his house, the father's house. That's the worst thing you want,
Yeah, I seen a video like that.
right?
Yeah.
When your mom got pregnant, I moved her out of the house, right? That's what's supposed to happen. She's supposed to leave. That's disrespectful to you being in your parents' house and you're pregnant, right? Okay. It says he worries that she might be difficult. So the father's worries that she might be difficult. This is two issues, right? Or that she might not be able to have children, right? That's a shame in those times, right? That she's difficult to have around because she wasn't raised properly, right? Argumentative, right? Trying to have authority in the house over her husband, right? He's worried about that, right? Or that she might not be able to have children, right? That goes back to verse 9, right? She doesn't get married at the proper age. She's old. Now there's no grandkids coming home, right? This is why a lot of women now, when they hit like 33, 34, they just sleeping with any dude that don't even care about them just to have a kid. And now they're single moms, and now the cycle is the nonsense is recycled, talking about when menstruous women bring forth monsters because they're not being raised properly in a single parent household, okay? So it's a shame in those times, right? Verse 11.
Verse 11. Keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter,
Right. Watch that shameless daughter, right? Who likes to wear those tight dresses. Okay? Go ahead.
lest she make thee a laughingstock to thine enemies, and a byword in the city,
Right. They call her a hoe, a thought, a ripper, a runner. Okay? Go ahead.
and a reproach among the people,
A problem. Like, here this hoe come. You know? Go ahead.
and make thee ashamed before the multitude.
Right. It's shameful, man. Okay, so now forgive your children, okay? Because we understand that our children are going to go off sometimes, but you got to forgive them, even when they be over here dancing while we're doing videos. Forgive your children, okay? Luke 15 and 11.
Luke chapter 15 and 11. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons.
Right, so this is bigger than just the surface, okay? This is, and a deeper spiritual understanding, this is talking about the Most High having the nation, right? And that nation being split into two. You got Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, right? And one stays with the father, Judah, right? Keeps the law, keeps the ordinances. And Israel goes off to find his own glory and ends up coming back. And he's accepted back. He's forgiven, right? But we're going to read it. That's just the gist, but we're going to read it. Go ahead.
And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divideth unto them his living.
Right. So he wants to go out and live his own life and do his own thing, right? Which a lot of kids, when they turn 18 or 20, when they get enough money, that's what they usually do, right? They ask, if you have it, they ask for something and they leave. Go ahead.
And not many days after the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living.
Right. Party, right? He hit the college campus and partied away everything that he had, right? Remember, we're just reading this on the surface. Go ahead, keep going.
And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land.
Right. So it wasn't all good no more, Everything was a downturn, right? It was a bad economy. Okay? Go ahead.
And he began to be in want.
So he needed something. He needed some extra ends. Go ahead.
He went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. And he sent him into his fields to feed swine.
Right. So he took the shitty job. Go ahead.
He would fain have filled his belly with the husks of that swine did eat, and no man gave unto him.
Right. So no one gave him a damn thing because they weren't supposed to. Go ahead.
17. And when he came to himself, he said, How
Salakia. See, he came to himself. He realized I'm going off, right? But he would have never been able to come to himself if he wasn't taught who he is. You know what I'm saying? When you come to yourself, you come to who you are. He's like, I'm not these people out here, right? So he came to himself and he remembered what his father taught him. Go ahead.
He said, How many hired servants are of my father's have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger.
Right. So he's saying, even my father's servants are doing well, right? And I'm over here dying of thirst. Okay, go ahead.
I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion.
Right. So the son came home and he realized that he was going off, right? He came home and he asked for forgiveness and the father had compassion, right? That's why I'm saying forgive your children when they mess up, right? Remember, we've all messed up. So give them a chance, right? Of course, correction is key, right? It's sin is not for free, basically. Okay, there's a ransom to pay, but forgive your children nonetheless. Go ahead.
And ran and fell on his neck and kissed him.
Mm-hmm.
And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hands, and shoes on his feet,
Mm-hmm.
and bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to marry,
Right.
to
So
be married.
right, begin to be married. So he was dead spiritually, right? Because he went off, and now he's alive again. He was lost and now is found. The lost sheep, right, was found. He heard the words of his father in his head, right? The sheep hear my voice, right? And he came home. That's what you want. That's why you want to teach your children. So when they go out in the world, hopefully they go out in the world and they start their own family and they raise them up the way that you raise him up, right? That's what you want. But if he ever slips and falls and he comes home, forgive him, right? And build him back up so that way when he's ready, he can go out and start his own family tree under yours. Okay? Colossians 3:21.
Colossians chapter 3 and 21. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged.
Right. So you want to be careful with your children, right? Know how far to chastise them. The Lord only gives you what you can handle, right? So don't go too far, right? You got to know, your children, so you got to know the edge, right? Right, Psalms.
Psalm chapter 127, 3 through 5.
Mm-hmm.
Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward.
That's what the Lord wants, right? The fruit of the womb are his reward. That's what he wants, right? Go ahead.
As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man,
Mm-hmm.
so are children of the youth.
Right. Strength, right? Power, right? The children are powerful. The children are what's going to perpetuate, or what's going to not perpetuate.
Push.
Yeah, yeah,
Ascend.
yeah. The children are what's going to ascend. Thank you. The kingdom to higher and higher heights. Right. Go ahead.
Happy is the man that has his quiver full of them.
Right. So happy is the man who has a quiver, is like what you put your arrows in, right? So if you have a guy who's a bow and arrow, a specialist, I guess, I'm not sure what the term will be, but he has a quiver. It's like a hole, and you put the arrows in and you pull them out, right? And you shoots them, right? So happy is a man who has a quiver full of them, right? So yeah, have as many children as you desire, right? As many as you can afford, because you have to be able to take care of them, especially in 2000.
24.
Yeah, 2000
Big
whatever
24.
time. Go ahead. But they
shall speak with the enemies in the gate.
mhm, they go forth. In conclusion, go ahead.
Numbers 32 and 10. And the Lord's anger was kindled at the same time, and he swore, saying, Surely none of the men that came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swore unto Abraham.
Right. So these are grown men, right? 20 years and upward, right? The frontal cortex isn't fully developed until 25, right? This is why the men don't really go to war until 25, right? The Bible is deep, man. They don't your frontal cortex is what controls like reasoning and things like that, right? Motor skills, stuff like that, right? That's important in war, right? Hand and eye coordination, right? But go ahead.
And unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Keep going.
Save Caleb the son of Jephunneh
Mm-hmm.
the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun,
Mm-hmm.
for they have wholly followed the Lord.
Right. So he's saying very few who came out of Egypt captivity, right, will make it to the land. Right? You guys, the dudes who are set in their own ways, and the ones who aren't willing to be reborn, which is damn near all of them, are not going to make it to the land. They're not going to make it to the kingdom, right? That's why the children are important. That's why you got to teach the children, okay? Because they're the ones who are destined to make it. It's more you, Harmony, and Zion, and then yours after that, okay? Go ahead.
And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years.
Right, to kill off that generation. Go ahead. My bad.
Until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was consumed.
Right. And I can say that I've done evil in the sight of the Lord at one time, right? So, in conclusion, man, the children see the kingdom, man, when directed the way, right? The children see the kingdom when directed the way, right? Matthew 18, 1 through 5. Read it. Go read it, man. Teach your children, man. Water the seed to have a mighty increase. We want our children to make it to the kingdom, right? I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about the kids. Because if it hit in 30 years, I want them to be ready. If it hit in 10 years, I want them to be ready. Okay? So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. And we out of here, man. Shalom.
Shalom.
Man, I ain't trying to cry, but let me read something. It's been on my phone for 5. Break generational curses. Quit yelling at your kids before they go to bed and expect them to sleep well. Quit yelling at your kids in the morning right after they wake up before school and expect them to have a good day. You set the tone for your children. You set the tone you set the tone for your voice. They will always remember in their heads. You become their inner voice. Don't be their inner critic. Speak life, speak love, speak bravery, kindness, and hope. Speak wisdom and truth. Most of all, listen to your children.
Message.